All right, hello and welcome to Frequency with Michael Edwards. Today I'm going to be talking to you about 3 powerful ways that you can raise your frequency so that you can create more love, joy, peace, and prosperity in your life with more freedom and ease. So the first thing is choosing love and tolerance. It is so easy in today's world to move into blame, to move into judgment, to move into criticism. But these are all incredibly low frequency emotions and expressions of ourselves that are really going to drag down our vibration and change what we're a match for. This is something that I'm becoming increasingly passionate about. As I look at the digital landscape, I see so much bullying, so much tearing of other people down. So, the first way that I really want you to focus on to raise your frequency is choosing love and tolerance. It can be so easy in today's world to move into judgment, blame, criticism, but these are all very low frequency emotions and expressions of ourself that are really going to lower your vibration. When you have a lower vibration, it means you're going to experience more density in your life. You're going to experience more resistance. You're going to start attracting things that are a match for that, which is not what you want. I had this experience recently. I love to use our physical reality and what it is that we're manifesting to reverse engineer and see what's going on in our frequency and our vibration. You'll notice the second you start attracting things that you don't want, that's usually a clue that something's off in your energy. I had this experience recently where I was parking somewhere downtown and I parked in front of this guy and I wasn't really sure if there was this space in front and the signage wasn't clear and I wasn't really sure if it was you were allowed to park there. So I just backed up into the behind the sign where I knew I was allowed to park. So I ended up quite close to this other guy. I'm talking like 2 feet away. There was definitely room to easily maneuver out of that parking spot. Anyways, I get out of the car and this guy starts yelling at me and being super belligerent and angry because I parked too close to him, which was crazy because I was like, this is the city. Have you seen how close people park? But he just wouldn't. And I was, oh, sorry, I didn't even notice. Do you want me to move my car? And he just would not let up. He was like, if someone else did that to you, and he was just, I could just feel the rage coming out of him. He was obviously a very bitter person that was obviously mad about something else or having another emotional experience, low emotional intelligence, low impulse control, whatever. We don't need to go into the analysis of that. But he was obviously being affected by someone else. You could feel that he was in a really low vibration. And so it was coming out in this way, in this experience of frustration, this experience of being annoyed with me. And the second that happened, I knew that something was off in my frequency because I do not attract things like that. I do not have experiences like that in my life anymore, ever. And it caused me to self-reflect. And I was immediately able to identify that this sneaky little loop had come back in and that I had been in judgment and I would say mostly judgment. I had been in judgment about some things over the last couple of days. Mostly I had come up with comparison. I think I was maybe triggered by someone else, and then I went into comparison, and then I went into judgment. And the judgment comes up as a form of self-protection. And that's what I want to say is that these things aren't inherently bad. We're trying to do something. So a lot of the times when we judge or when we criticize, we're either trying to self-protect or we're trying to stop ourselves from going into something. So it might be this person is embodying something that I don't like. I see this a lot with people when they start becoming aware of vibration, when they start becoming more emotionally intelligent, they start becoming bothered by all the people that aren't. And it's so easy to look at me like, oh, I wish that my husband was more optimistic, or I wish that the people at work weren't so gossipy or so negative. Oh, like they're so negative. But that's a judgment, and that's actually lowering our vibration. In that moment, we're calibrating to that lower frequency, and so we're going to change our attraction point. And this is a major thing that we do, is that we calibrate to the lower energy without doing it. And the mechanism by which we do that a lot of the time is through judgment, is through blame, is through looking at what we don't want and putting more attention on it. And so what we want to really get good at doing is choosing love. And this is going to be the experience of love. And I think this is something that's really important for us to become familiar with ourselves. There is an experience of the frequency of love that you will feel in your body that you can tune into from your heart space. And why I'm so focused on it from an experiential place is because I think a lot of the times the word love and the thought love has a lot of conditioning attached to it. If we have been people pleasers, or we believe that we need to go with the flow in order to be loving. A lot of people feel like they need to become subservient. It's like they can't stand in their power. They can't assert themselves. They can't be ambitious. They can't go after what they want. They can't hold standards and be loving. It's like all that goes out the windows when they tune into love, but that's not love. That is not love. If love and power are oppositional, then that's not real love. Real love, unconditional love, the true frequency of love, which we're often going to experience first from an experiential place, is powerful. And the thing is that vibrationally and energetically, and the truth is that we are all connected. The law of divine oneness is one of the number one universal laws. We are all part of the all. You can't separate yourself from that. So you can't give love to someone else or to something else or do something in the name of love. If it hurts you, then it's not actually love. That love has to flow to you and through you. You can't give what you don't have. So you have to overflow love within yourself first and then beyond yourself. And so if in the equation of how you're considering what you're doing, that love for you, which is for a lot of people is going to feel like self-respect. So love feeling like massive self-respect for you. And if that's not part of the equation when you're experiencing love, then that's not love. And so it's really important that starts with us. We are the center point of our experience. And that's not selfish or self-serving. That's just the truth. Like you are here in this time-space reality, driving the human body. That is you. So you are the focal point of your experience. So you calibrating to and sharing love has to start with you, comes from you, to you, through you. And so when you're loved and you're nourished and you're self-respected and you're in your power, then you can give love. Then you can share love. Then you can make decisions in the name of love. And that's going to be real love, real love, real love that's for the highest good of all. Now, in my experience, I was aware of this love piece for a long time. It's something that I work on a lot, and I have seasons where I'm very connected to it. And then sometimes through a phase of growth or a season of growth or something, that will soften a little bit. And then I really have to work on coming back to love in everything that I'm doing, in every decision that I make. But what has really helped me with the judgment and the bitterness and all those emotions is also adding in a focus on tolerance. And the way that I see life and the world and all of the different kinds of people and all of the different dynamics and situations that are playing out is again from this perspective of the greater whole. And so again, if we think about this from divine oneness, that we are all part of one thing, that we are consciousness itself experiencing itself through human form and through all these different incarnations and all these different situations, it's like everything within the spectrum of consciousness is being expressed in a different way. And because in our human incarnations, a lot of the way we learn, particularly when we're in the lower frequencies and when we're really initiating our journey of growth, is that it comes in learning through opposition and contrast. So we learn about love through hurt, heartbreak, and indifference. We learn about freedom through constriction and limitation. We learn about what it is to be prosperous and abundant through lack and scarcity. And so none of those things are inherently bad. They're just different expressions of the all. Just like parts of you, the bitterness, the judgment, they're not bad. So it's important if that you're self-recognizing in this conversation that you don't make yourself bad and you don't make yourself wrong, because that's just a sneaky little pattern that wants to come back in, but it's not the truth. None of it is bad. It's just all part of the experience of growth. If you didn't experience that judgment or that contraction, that lower frequency emotion, then you wouldn't have the awareness to shift something and to move into a higher frequency state of being. And so if we can look at life through this perspective and start to really understand that everything has a purpose and that every soul goes on a natural journey of evolution, then we can start to have some compassion for the different situations that people are in. And so I'll give you some examples. There are 3 stages of this journey of awakening that are very relevant to me, my clients, and the work that I do. So stage 1 of this piece is we're asleep. A lot of the times we're stuck in systems and structures of the 3D world. So this a lot of the time will look like having a corporate job, being some kind of employee, being really bought into the systems of thought that were pushed on us. So being totally bought into the medical mainstream, being totally bought into the narratives on the news, being totally bought into what the government tells us is ultimate truth. And then people inevitably often start to see there's another world out there, something's happening. There are people that I can see that are having an experience that's different. And this is where the kind of this first level, really powerful level of awakening, there are multiple levels of awakening that we go through, but this is where the first level really starts to happen. And this, a lot of the time, is where people start to see the power of independence, the power of financial freedom. This a lot of the time is when you start recognizing, oh, it's possible for me to get ahead. I could start a company or I could invest in real estate, and whatever that thing may be, we start to go out of this kind of being a drone in the system, to put it colorfully, to really being self-interested and being like, I want to get ahead. I want to create something. I want to have a better life. I want a better quality of life. I could look better. I could feel better. I could have a better partner. I could live in a nicer place. I could just have a better, free time. Lots of freedom is really big focus here. Time freedom, location freedom, financial freedom. And so there's this stage that we awaken to this and we start to move in that direction. We start to explore different things. We start to think differently. This is a very self-interested phase. And this, again, isn't bad. There's so much shame around ambition and self-interest and the desire for wealth, but none of that is inherently bad. This is part of the journey of evolution. And so during this time, we are likely to get hooked a little bit, I'll say, into capitalism and into materialism. And this, again, isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's just part of that experience. And when you go in search of how am I going to make more money, and you're Googling that, and that's what you're asking mentally, and that's what your vibration is, right? Your vibration is, I want more. You're going to become a vibrational match for those experiences because that's where you're vibrating at. And so from that place, you might absorb some of the capitalism ways of thinking. There might be some ways of making money that aren't aligned with the highest good that you land on. There might be some business things that you end up being aligned with that aren't necessarily for the highest good of the planet, that aren't for the highest love and the highest good of all. And I'm going to finish this phase and then come back to why all of this matters. And this is a phase that people get in, right? Because it becomes very about the money, becomes very about material success and wealth, and people work on that for a long time. Now, something incredible happens after people crack the money code. When we truly achieve financial freedom, time freedom, and we just have more space. And what tends to happen here is that people start to realize that thing that they were looking for when they left the systems and structures and they entered into this world of freedom and entrepreneurship, that they were actually looking for a feeling. They were looking for a feeling of fulfillment and a feeling of freedom. And people will start to very often recognize, once they've achieved a certain level of success, that they are not getting that all of the things, all of the money, all of the houses, all of the experiences, all of that did not give them the feeling that they were looking for. And this often sends people into a lot of contemplation. This often sends people into a lot of contemplation and questioning, and ultimately leads to the next awakening, the next stage of the journey. which is that people truly start to become self-aware. A lot of times people have a spiritual awakening at this stage. They start to realize that there is so much beyond themselves. They start to become so much more aware of themselves in relation to the environment, in relationship to the world, in relationship to their community. They start to become more aware of how their actions, who they are and how they're showing up is impacting the world. People at this stage tend to become a lot more socially conscious. They tend to become a lot more environmentally responsible, and they tend to develop a lot more integrity. And this is wonderful. Okay. But one of the shadows, because this is how it works, it's so sneaky with the loops and patterns that we have in our conditioning, is that it's very easy to get to this point where we're becoming more about social consciousness and love and integrity, and to look back and make everybody that came before bad. It's easy to look back and make every stage that came before bad and wrong. And this is a huge mistake. This is one of the number one ways that people cap their growth. So they go, okay, I've evolved. I see you. That's where I used to be. And anywhere that we've been, we're going to have crystal clear vision, because hindsight is 2020, and you'll be able to see the patterns and the paradigms that other people are stuck in that you've been through. And it's so easy to label those as bad, to label those as wrong, to label those as unjust. But that is hurting everyone. That is going to lower your frequency, your vibration. It's going to put a cap, a new glass ceiling on what you're capable of, because you're not going to be able to raise your frequency beyond a certain point. And it's hurting them. And this is where we have to really understand that we are part of the all. So you can't blame and shame someone else without introducing blame and shame into your personal experience, because you are them and they are you. We are all connected. So this is why frequency matters so much. There is no, I give this frequency, but I am this other frequency. It's all one frequency. So you're either in the frequency of blame and guilt and shame, or you're in the frequency of love and truth and integrity. That's it. There's no, that person's bad. You're affecting that. So this is really goes back to some basic teachings, even Jesus teachings. The way that you treat others is the way that you treat yourself. And that's not just a parable. That's literally in the field of consciousness, energetically in the field where everything is entangled and connected. What you're putting out is affecting you. When you're judging, you're creating judgment within yourself. When you're blaming, you're becoming a channel for the frequency of blame. And that is going to hurt you, and it's going to hurt them. And it's not what helps our planet and our society move forward. This is where tolerance comes in. And this is really where we want to get to, because it's so easy when we're in a low frequency. When we're in a low frequency, we experience binaries, good and bad, right and wrong. And so it's so easy to feel like it's either judgment or it's no judgment, which feels difficult for us, because a part of us looks at that and goes, I'm not that and I don't want that. So I need to create separation. And so then judgment comes in, and it's this observation of separation, but it's charged with negative emotion and low vibration. And so that's what we want to take out. We don't have to get rid of the awareness. We don't have to pretend that we're not that. What we want to do is dissolve any of that low vibration and negative emotion. And so the way that we do that is elevating judgment in frequency. So judgment at low is a low frequency expression of discernment. And so this is where we get to discern. And without judgment, without any low frequency emotions, we can just look at that and go, oh, that person is at that stage in their journey. And I remember what that was like. And I've gone beyond that. And I'm over here now. And if we truly want to help other people raise their frequency and rise in consciousness, then what we actually can do is be a teacher and do what I'm doing right now, is speak from the awareness that you're in, is to educate, is to share your frequency, is to share your perspectives, is to share your understanding, and invite those people into your frequency, into your awareness. But we cannot do that with an agenda. Okay. Every soul is on its own journey, on its own timeline, and that is part of their journey. They are in their soul's evolution. They are in the time when they're being a capitalist. Okay. And that's fine. It's fine. It's fine. just let them be. If you want to see more conscious, more high frequency, more consciousness, more good on the planet, then be good. Don't go into judgment. Don't go into negativity. Don't go into bitterness. Don't go into blame. Don't go into ridicule. Those aren't helping. Your frequency, your energy is the loudest thing that you're sharing with the world. So move from a place of leadership anchored into love, anchored into tolerance, anchored into understanding, and really try to work on this, stopping looking at people, places, things, and situations as being bad or wrong just because of where they are in the journey. Everyone's evolving. You were there too. And I feel if we could all step into this, it would just dissolve so much of the bullying and the blame and the criticism that's out there in the world on social media. So, step one is really choosing love in this deep embodied way, the frequency of love. And the frequency of love gets to be part of this trifecta. It's not even really separate. I feel like when I say trifecta, they feel separate, but it's love, self respect, and power. Those things all go together. And anywhere they feel like they don't, there's some inner work to do on dissolving the separation. And then, can you take this big picture, bird's eye viewed, and look at life, look at reality and the universe through the eyes of the universe, through the eyes of God, through the eyes of love, and just have tolerance, have love for everything. And that doesn't mean you have to go backwards. It doesn't mean you have to accept it. We get to keep that discernment, but you don't have to get hooked into it. You don't have to go into blame and negativity. And if you can really embody this, it is going to do wonders for your personal frequency, which is going to help you raise your vibration and become a match for miracles, become a match for more good, and just become a match for magic. And that really is what happens. Okay, so step two of raising your frequency and vibration so that you can create more peace, love, joy, and prosperity with ease and freedom is to create more space. This is such a core teaching of mine. It is one of the core steps in the Infinite Freedom Blueprint, which is the methodology that I teach. And in order to do this, we have to change our relationship with space. We tend to think as space as nothing, as being empty, and something empty is just an empty space that can be filled. But what we need to start doing is thinking about space as something. And so I really started to understand this honestly through the lens of design. When I had my initial success, I got this big, beautiful space. And for the first time in my life, I really went about decorating it my way, in my style. And I wanted it to be stunning. So I did a lot of research and I learned a lot about design. And one of the most powerful things that I learned about design was to consider negative space in designing. And this was really interesting because it actually had two impacts for me. It didn't actually just help me design the space, it actually helped me keep my space a lot cleaner. I grew up in quite a messy home. My parents are both like B grade hoarders, and that had just been always something that I was used to was clutter, and I'd always liked clean spaces, but I always inevitably when I would get busy would end up having a messy space, especially things like bedside tables and kitchen counters. They just inevitably would accumulate clutter. But when I designed my apartment and I started thinking about the negative space, I noticed something really interesting happened because I would have, let's say, a coffee table. And on the coffee table, I was taught that you want to have three objects and think about the space. There'd be this little cluster of maybe a vase and a coffee table book, and then some kind of ornament like draped on the coffee table book off the side. And then you could put that in the center, let's say, but often asymmetrical is more pleasing to the eyes. And being a photographer and understanding the rule of thirds, I was all about asymmetrical. So you could put that off to the side to one quarter, and then it's balanced by this other portion of the coffee table by the negative space. And because I put so much thought into this design, it was like this negative space that balances these objects is something. So if I was reading a book, let's say, and I get tired, and before I would have just put my book on the coffee table and left it there and gone to bed because nothing's there. So there's a space to put the book. Now, if I would go to put the book there, like, oh, well, I can't put the book there because that's the space. The space is something. I can't fill this negative space with a book because that's ruining. The space isn't nothing. The space is something. And one of my favorite things in analyzing frequency is looking at the frequency of wealth, looking at the frequency of abundance. And one of the things that's massively linked to those frequencies is luxury. And so I did a whole frequency map of the frequency of luxury. And a lot of the things I came up with were luxury is spacious, luxury is thoughtful, luxury is curated. Luxury has a lot of care into it. This is a luxury hotel right now, you can see there's a lot of space in here. There's thought to the decor. Everything is in a color palette. We love monochromatic a lot of the times in luxury. Not always, because there's different styles, but that can be a big thing. If you think about the lobby of a luxury hotel, it's usually stunning. Someone thought about all of the materials and all of the objects, and it's not too busy. It's just enough to look gorgeous, but there'll be a lot of space. So space, quality, those are all very high frequency things. They're on the frequency of excellence. They're on the frequency of wealth. They're on the frequency of prosperity. So when we look at our lives, we need to look at them through the same lens, because the modern world has taught us to value hard work and busyness and clutter. And that's essentially what burnout is. It's clutter of the mind, it's clutter of the body, clutter of our time. And so, what if you were to look at your time, to look at your calendar through this lens of creating space? What if you were to look at your mind through this lens of creating space? That's what meditation is. And this is something that clients often fight me on so hard. People will say, it's unrealistic. You don't understand the responsibilities that I have. I'm a single mom. I have a family. I'm a CEO of 7 companies. I'm a this, I'm a that. People really fight me on the making space thing. And argument that comes up from the logical mind is, how am I ever going to make anything done if I'm living with all this space? People say to me all the time, I live a very different life to you. That's unrealistic. Making space is a universal thing. Everyone can make space. All of the reasons that come up are you defending your limited paradigm. I'm telling you that. This is absolute fact. Any story that you come up with about why you can't create more space in your life is you defending your old paradigm and fighting for your limitation. Hard stop. When we create more space in our lives, we get more done. It's very difficult to understand how this works. It's not logical at all, but I see it time and time again. Most clients fight me on this so hard. And then when they finally surrender, when they're done trying all the different ways that don't work and not listening, and they finally surrender and they really listen to what I'm saying and they really start to do what I tell them and be the embodiment of the work and my teachings, they, without fail, they always come to this point where they go, I don't know how this is happening, but I'm living with so much space and I'm getting more done than I've ever done in my life. I'm making more money. It's coming with more ease. And I just have so much more love in all my relationships. And I go, yeah, that's the point. That's why I have been telling you to do all of these things. And it is so incredible to see this unfold in people's lives. But you right now that's listening, no matter what may be coming up in your mind right now, arguing against this, I am telling you that making space and living with more space is the way forward, because we create frequency first. And you cannot have a high frequency. You cannot have this pure truth frequency that's focused like a laser when you're chaotic, when your mind is busy, when your energy is all over the place. And that's what it will be when you're not in space. Really understanding that we create everything. The process of manifestation is this translation through things being energetic, then mental, then physical. Everything is energetic, then mental, then physical. Without space, that energy, it can't be organized. It can't be tuned. When I read the field of someone who's living this way without space, I can feel the chaos. It's like an orchestra that doesn't know how to play in unison, that doesn't know how to play on key. It's just a mess. And that's the vibration that you're putting off. And that's what the universe is responding to. Remember, the number one universal law is the law of vibration. And that means everything is vibrating and like attracts like. And so what that means is that your lived experience that has convinced you that you can't live another way is actually just a manifestation of the way that you've been living. That's just the truth. And as you organize your field, oh, I can feel this in my body, even though I tap into it. As you create space and as you organize your field, you can find alignment. You can find attunement. This is when you're going to have access to your true wisdom through your intuition and the messages from your highest self. And from there, your energy will become focused. And this is a real key to conscious creation. So if you imagine that your energy, when it's chaotic, is like the beam of a flashlight, right? If you shine the beam of the flashlight out the window or like down the street, that beam of light just diffuses. And so sure, it will light that stuff up in front of you, but point it at something that's a couple of buildings away and there's not going to be much light there. Versus if that same light is focused into a laser, the laser goes infinitely long. It goes so much further. It's the same thing with your energy. When you create space and you organize your emotional body, your mental body, and your energy body, that immediately raises your frequency. It brings you into coherence. So that orchestra of you is now playing in unison and on key, and your vibration becomes clear. And so you can create and attract from a more powerful place and have this clear focus like a laser. And what happens when we do this is we start to create from the inside out, which is when we really start to tap into our power. We start to experience a version of reality which is far less dense, where reality is working with us in a beautiful dance. When we shift our frequency and our vibration, we set an intention in this state, the field will reorganize. Reality can reorganize so quickly when you're living this way, but it starts with making space. So check in. Ask yourself, do you have a daily meditation practice? Do you have a daily mindfulness practice? How much time do you spend with self-care? How much time do you spend really nourishing yourself as a soul and as a being? And notice any resistance that comes up to that. And step 3 for today of raising your frequency and your vibration so that you can create more peace, prosperity, purpose, and joy from a place of ease, alignment, and freedom is to be of service. So going back to what we talked about earlier, everything is frequency. So there's no, in the truth, the real capital T truth, there is no separation between you and others. So whatever flows through you also flows to you. So if you want more love, go and give someone love. If you want more prosperity, go and give someone prosperity. If you want more joy, go and give someone joy. One of the most powerful high frequency things that we can do is to be of service to others. And the most high frequency of all is us utilizing our gifts, doing our purpose work, being of service to others and the world. And this can feel paradoxical to the mind, again, as all of these things do, because when we're in that state, maybe if we're noticing that our vibration is low, maybe if we're noticing that we're in a bit of contraction, maybe if we're noticing that we're having a bit of a hard time, that's not what we feel like doing. We tend to go into kind of hermit mode, and we're like, I need to fix me first. And then when I'm bright and shiny, I can go share myself with the world. But going and sharing yourself with the world and being of service is going to raise your frequency. I can tell you in the work that I do, I just love it so much. And there's so much business that comes with it. And sometimes I don't want to do the business things. And then I put on my business hat and I get really tuned into the CEO energy. And I go, okay, here we are. Let's go. I get into the doing. And then I get pumped for the business stuff. And sometimes there'll be weeks where I'm not delivering as much, where I don't have as many client calls. And it's really like the business development focused time. And it does feel enjoyable at the time, but often if there's too much time in that space, I'll come to this place, contraction and depletion, and I'll start to feel unfulfilled. I'll start to feel like something's missing. And I know now. I didn't for a long time. Oh, I need to go serve. I need to go do my gift. I need to go heal someone, or I need to go do a session with someone, or I need to go teach something and help someone. And lo and behold, the second that I do that, boom, my frequency totally shifts. I had this experience recently. This has honestly been to one of the biggest gifts with unlocking my skills as an energy healer, because when we heal others in this way, we you become a channel for the frequencies. So you're channeling this higher vibrational divine energy. You're channeling this unconditional universal love frequency, and then you're using that to do the different things in the other person. You're helping to clear their blocks and then channel those frequencies into them and help attune their chakras to higher frequencies. But all of that energy flows through me when I'm doing it. And I will be high afterwards. It's my favorite thing in the world when I do an energy healing on someone or an attunement, because I'm literally high afterwards from the frequencies. I feel so good in my body. I feel so expanded and loving. And I just feel this sense of fulfillment and purpose. Same when people share feedback with me. I love, obviously, the success and the lifestyle that what I'm doing has afforded me. And I love nice things. I love nice clothes, and I love having money. I'm not afraid to say that at all. But when people come into my world and they share how much my work has changed them, I had this incredible woman who's just this amazing leader and business owner who I know has coached with a lot of the best people in the industry. And she said to me at the closing of a container I just ran, she said, "This is the best thing I invested in all year. This got me back in my power." The feeling in my body, nothing compares to that. Another woman that just came into my world, she actually came for something totally unrelated. She was having a personal crisis, and we worked through that first. And then I think she, just from being in close proximity with me, started to realize all these other things that I can do with, yeah, just I really unlimit people, helping people step into the highest expression of who they truly are, accessing their unrealized potential. This comes with being the best version of ourselves and a lot of fulfillment and love and joy, but it also comes with a lot of prosperity. And I think she started to recognize that. And so she continued to work with me after her first cycle. We worked together one to one, and we massively changed her business, her life. She ended up moving into a new house during this time. She started going, like, in terms of the clients that she was working with, she went from playing at the level that she thought was possible to playing at the level that her soul was calling her to, the dream that she had inside herself, but that felt that's like the dream for one day in my perfect life, but that's not my reality. But that became her reality in a matter of weeks to, I think, maybe a month and a half, with this work with frequency and energy. And every time she shares her feedback with me, she's got tears in her eyes because it's completely changed her life. And now she gets to play as who she really is. She gets to show up as who she really is in life. And you can see the expansion in her soul, in her being, in the way that she sees herself, and the way that she loves, and the way that she lives. Her relationships has improved. Her finances have improved. Her career has improved. But she has this inner glow because the dream her is her reality. And every time she reflects that back to me, and I always send it back to her, 'cause I'm like, but you did this, you did the work. She was a great client about taking everything that I said on board and actually doing it. But I'm like, you did the work. But she always throws it back to me, and she's, yeah, but I like, you impacted me so much. And I can feel this in my body right now as I'm tuning into this. It just, oh, it does something. It opens my heart. It puts me in my truth frequency. It elevates my frequency, being of service. And so that is step 3, is whatever frequency you want to experience, share it, channel that through you. And one of the highest frequency things that you can do is to be in service. being in service in the frequency of highest love, highest truth, and highest good for all is going to be one of the most powerful things that you can do. So I hope you enjoyed this episode today. If you're interested in learning more about working with me to raise your frequency, aligning to your highest, most expanded self, and becoming a match for all it is that you desire, living with purpose, peace, and prosperity, then you can check out the links below. There are about every month to every 2 months, there's usually a one-time event that there's an opportunity to come into my world. And there are usually opportunities to come in and work with me on different levels in a long-term way or one-to-one as well. So just check the links below because it's always changing, but there's always doors open. My name is Michael Edwards. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm sending you so much love and bye for now.